we were part of a group who could bring in resources and bring in people who are willing to work hard and try and get stuff done. It started off smaller, but over the past couple of years we've sent anywhere from 50 to 60 kids for a week over spring break. The students work at a variety of placements. Some work in manual labor, and last year the ones who did manual labor worked in the Lower Ninth Ward, helping to rebuild and revamp houses down there. And other students worked at legal placements. So last year we had students at the New Orleans Public Defender, at the City Attorney, the Louisiana Justice Institute. There was another placement that was like a public defender for juveniles, and people were at the New Orleans Redevelopment Agency.
The fact that students had an option to either do legal aid work or actual physical work, repairing homes and things like that. I like that we were given a choice, and I was very interested in doing legal work. And the place I was placed in was called the Juvenile Regional Services Office. So we worked sort of as a public defender in juvenile proceedings, and the attorneys that we got to shadow and the investigators we got to shadow represented juveniles who were going through hearings in front of judges and being prosecuted for juvenile offenses. The Juvenile Regional Services Office had just really gotten up and running again because after the hurricane, a lot of attorneys who did work with juveniles left the area and never returned. So the organization itself was very small and only had about maybe 4 or 5 staff members and an investigator. So the work that the student interns did for the week was very valuable to them.
I worked with the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority, which is an organization that existed before Katrina but really expanded after the hurricane hit. And this agency has the authority to seize blighted property and to sell it to new owners who promise to fix up the property and help redevelop the communities. We had the opportunity to draft these motions and to actually go and file them in Louisiana State Court. We got to observe some court proceedings while we were there, so overall it was a really educational and interesting experience.
She was on stage, and I was in the sky.
All of us got sent to the Lower Ninth Ward to go help families who their homes are still devastated by Hurricane Katrina. One person's back. The first house we went to and did a lot of work on, we helped paint the inside of their kitchen and helped reclaim their backyard. I don't think they'd done any work on it for the last probably 4 years, I'd say. So all the weeds are about 4 feet tall, and it was a trip to look at. But they had a lawnmower, and actually the lawnmower can take down 4-foot weeds, which I didn't know. The other days that we were there down doing manual labor, we spent time doing oil-based paint, helping someone repaint their fence and repaint the trimmings of their house, which was a lot of fun. And you could tell it meant a lot to her because she hadn't had a chance to fix it since Hurricane Katrina. And so it meant a lot to her to finally have a house that looked new, looked presentable, something she could be happy about and be proud of.
Spring break, my 1L year, being able to meet with clients and do actual legal work was huge for me, and it was a nice, sort of revitalizing thing going into finals. It was like, okay, there's, a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not just going to be outlining for the next however many months. There is something that I'm working towards. So I think for us, that's what I especially looked for in placements was, is this something that people might want to do?
One of the attorneys asked me to help research expropriation proceedings in Louisiana, and I used Westlaw and LexisNexis and all the tools we learned about in our legal research class to help find that legal precedent for him.
The organization had me do a research project on the collateral consequences of juvenile proceedings. So instead of just a punishment such as probation or maybe being sent to a juvenile detention facility, the consequences that a lot of people don't know exist, such as you might not be eligible for financial aid if you go on to college later. I was definitely able to use the skills that I learned as a first year at the law school. One of those things is a legal and research and writing class that they place you in, and they teach you how to do online research with programs like LexisNexis. And I was able to use the skills that I was taught by the instructors of those courses in doing the research that the attorneys needed us to do.
We had the opportunity to tour the 9th Ward, and that was a really interesting and eye-opening experience. There's still so much devastation in that area. So many of the houses are still in the same condition that they were after the hurricane hit. So it really showed us how much need there still is in New Orleans.
The issues with places like in the lower 9th Ward, you might have, one house that's been completely rebuilt and it's fine and it's beautiful, but it's sitting next to a plot that the house is still in shambles. You don't have neighbors anymore because not everyone's been able to come back. So, there's still those sort of issues.
The other things that we did down in New Orleans was get to go talk to George Washington Carver High School, and we got to go speak to the kids there and get a tour of their campus. The campus was actually devastated. The original high school building was in shambles. The ceilings have collapsed. The gymnasium, which used to be a nice 3 full courts, they can't even use the building anymore because of the water damage. They just don't have the funds right now to fix it. It's the only running high school in the lower 9th Ward. Our goal in visiting the school was to, I guess, give a message back to the kids. There was still hope out for them. Kids are still motivated to go to school, which is impressive to me. And not only are they motivated to go to school, but they're also smart. These kids are brilliant.
It was really hard to see those students having to focus and learn in that type of environment, but it was nice having an opportunity to speak with them and just give them words of encouragement and let them know that from this point on, no matter what grade they were in, there was always room for them to turn their schooling around, and that wouldn't always be the situation. They'd be in a learning environment like that, and that they had something to look forward to, and there were colleges all over the state and all over the country that would take them, and there was funds available for them to go to college.
Coming at the right time, she was on stage.
The trip was more than I expected. I had high expectations for my experience, but it definitely exceeded them. Just getting to know all of my classmates outside of the classroom setting was priceless.
We went on a riverboat. We didn't rent out the riverboat. We took about half the space with our 80 kids that we had on the trip with us, which was just a great experience. We got some great photos down on the Mississippi River, and that was a great experience. We also got to spend some nights out having fun on the town, getting to go see Bourbon Street and all the live music there.
This trip was actually the first time I ever visited New Orleans, and it is such a fun and exciting city. The food there is absolutely terrific, and I'm a really big fan of jazz music, and so every night we would go to different bars and restaurants and see great bands play. Overall, it was a really great way to bond with my fellow first-year students and second-year students, and I made a lot of new friends.
This trip happens through a lot of effort on the lab board team on the whole. While I'm fundraising chair, it's up to our entire board to put together the funds to make this trip work, and it requires a lot of effort on everyone's part. The trip costs about $15,000, and we get about roughly 5 of that from student body organizations on campus, whether that be the SBA of the law school or the Graduate and Professional Student Senate. In addition to that, we go out and raise about $10,000 ourselves. Last year we held a trivia night, which was very successful, and then also a poker night, which was also successful. We offer drinks and food, and everyone gets to come and play poker for a while. Next year we're planning on having a t-shirt fundraiser, which will be a lot of fun. We were painting one of the houses last year, and inside I just got the idea. I had this plain blue t-shirt on actually, and I was like, hey guys, why don't we make a t-shirt from New Orleans? And so they were like, okay Ryan. So we all put our hand in a big thing of paint, and everyone just gave me 5 on my shirt everywhere, front and back, and ever since I came back and had the shirt, everyone's been so interested and been like, I like that t-shirt a lot. Can I have one? And I'm like, okay, you can have one next year when you come to our fundraiser.
The majority of our money comes from fundraising events and individual contributions. So that means we have to solicit donations, hope that people's companies will match them, and stuff like that. We want to make sure that every student at USC who wants to go on this trip has the chance to go. My 1L year, it was about 60 people. It's 10% of the student body got to go on this trip, and it's because we had the money to fund it. USC is a global community, and even though New Orleans isn't in California, it's still a part of our community too. And if it's a place where people need help and we can actually go and make a difference and learn things in the process, it's sort of a win-win situation.
It's probably the best spring break that I've had in my entire life, without a doubt, because not only did I get to go and give back to the community, but I got to develop the bonds with my friends and colleagues that I wouldn't have got to otherwise. As a lot of students were extremely busy the vast majority of the time studying in the library. So this is a chance for me to actually bond during my first year, which is the most stressful year, with other students about stuff outside of law school when the next property exam that we have.